And welcome to episode 4 of the Smart Crypto Investing Podcast. This is your host, Chuck Rivers. I'm so glad you decided to join in today. If you haven't yet, please be sure to head over to smartcryptoinvesting.org. Also, you can check us out on Facebook at Smart Crypto Investing, and we're also over on Facebook at Smart Crypto Investing as well. And be sure to leave the show an honest review and rating on iTunes, and we'll very shortly be into iHeartRadio as well. Today's guest, we have Kiril Ravenstrong on the line with us. It's Kiril Ravenstrong. Today we're going to be talking about bitshares.org, and we're also going to be talking about the Billionaire Hero Campaign. Yes, the Billionaire Hero Campaign. I think you'll find that very, very interesting. So without further ado, let's go ahead and jump right into today's interview. Kiril, welcome to the Smart Crypto Investing Podcast. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great, Chuck. Thank you for having me.
No problem. So glad you can come on and join us today. So let's go ahead and jump right into it. Tell us a little bit about your background.
Right. So it's been a wild ride, this life for me. My training ranged from a Zen Buddhist monastery, from working in Hollywood to studying business with Tony Robbins, to being an activist at Occupy Wall Street. And now I'm in the cryptocurrency space.
Yeah. And so when you mentioned the Zen Buddhist, and I'm very familiar with Tony Robbins. He's one of my favorite.
Yeah.
Was there something that led you to Zen Buddhism, or was that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. No, I mean, Zen Buddhism was the very last place I looked for the truth I was looking for. I was in a great deal of personal suffering that I came to realize was existential suffering. It wasn't physical. It wasn't emotional. And meditation was the thing that really saved my life and put me on the right path.
And did you? So I know sometimes people will go abroad. I think Steve Jobs, in his when he first got started, he left America and went to, I believe it was India. Like, did you leave America to go study, or did you do your study here in America?
You know, funny enough, I did leave, and I really scoured a lot of places. I was in the Middle East. I went all over the place. I found the Zen Buddhist monastery like in New York City. So, I mean, after all that searching, I found it pretty close to where I started. Mm-hmm. And then I trained in a monastery in upstate New York.
Okay, cool. What part of upstate New York, if you don't mind me asking?
Livingston Manor.
Livingston Manor. Okay.
I don't know if you know, but it's midway up there. It's not quite as far as Albany. And I've spent a lot of time alternating between New York City and upstate. There are all sorts of beautiful things in both of those locales.
Yeah. And I asked the reason why, because I'm actually from Buffalo, New York. So whenever somebody says, whenever somebody says upstate New York, what part of upstate New York? So.
Right. Because depending on how far up you go, like some people say White Plains is upstate, and then you know how it goes.
Yes.
But you're way up there.
Yeah. I tell people all the time, like downtown Buffalo, New York, we can actually walk to the Canadian border. They're like, wow,
that's right.
Is that close? Yeah, we're that close. So.
Yeah. Beautiful.
So what got you into cryptocurrency?
I mean, I have to say it was the financial crisis of 2008. That was my big red pill, the big wake up. And I had known previously that there were issues with our financial system, but I think it's the first time that I felt a necessity to get involved. Mm-hmm. And I was exposed during Occupy Wall Street to a whole slew of ideas that I'd never even heard of before. I was introduced to WikiLeaks, Anonymous, and cryptocurrency. And, I was first exposed to Bitcoin. I got the idea of it. I immediately recognized that it was a serious innovation, something unlike we'd ever seen before. But it took me a long time. It took me years to finally really kind of understand how to harness it, how to work with it, and how to bring it to the marketplace. And it's only in the last year that I've really made the commitment to devote my energies to bringing innovation to the cryptocurrency marketplace itself. Like, there's a lot that needs to be done so that the marketplace can receive it.
Yeah, and I'm new. Like, I came across the idea of cryptocurrency and Bitcoin, I think a couple of years ago, but I was one of the people that thought it was a fad. I was watching I don't know if you saw the documentary on Netflix, the Bitcoin documentary on Netflix. I forget the name of it.
Oh yeah.
And
with Bitcoin Gospel.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. And it's interesting that, they were out in the streets interviewing and asking people questions about Bitcoin and cryptocurrency. And most of them said, no, they wouldn't touch it. Like, it's still one of those things where it's like, just like when the internet first was rolled out, everybody thought that it was just some fad that was just here today and gone tomorrow. But
that's right.
But just studying cryptocurrency myself heavily and just understanding the future of technology, it's really a big thing right now.
Yeah, I mean, on two fronts, I would say. On the first is the blockchain technology itself, and that's the underlying protocol that makes cryptocurrency work.
Yeah.
And I view the blockchain technology literally as Internet 2.0. It is a significant update to how our information system works. And the very fact that it returns power to the individual in ways that are only just beginning to be tapped, that's the real foundation there. And then the beauty of cryptocurrency is it allows people to compete with centralized banking. And if you can't compete with something, you will never be able to rein it in. But if you can offer a viable alternative to the fiat currency,
mm-hmm.
then you can challenge that to be a good actor. You can compel them to up their game and raise their standards.
Yeah. So a question for you now, and of course this comes up a lot, especially when people ask me about cryptocurrency. Do you see somewhere in the future where government will try to somehow, because right now it's all decentralized, but will government somehow in the future try to come in and dictate how the blockchain is actually ran?
Of course. I mean, that's an inevitable eventuality.
Mm-hmm.
And I get asked that a lot. So first I have to really give you the caveat. I'm not a lawyer. So I'm just giving you my opinion and perspective.
Yeah.
But I do know, for example, the SEC is seriously looking at how securities are run through the blockchain. And that would be an example, the ICOs.
Mm-hmm.
That's going to be a serious problem. In terms of the blockchain technology, the humor is that I actually see governments adopting it within the next 10 years or so in a very big way. And one of the things that blockchain can do is it can restore the sovereignty of the nation, and it can eliminate at the same time a huge amount of bureaucracy, enabling what really looks like smart contracts that execute automatically. That's a huge breakthrough that may at one point change the way government itself functions.
Yeah, I agree 100%. And the challenge that I have is that a lot of people don't know that there's a distinction between when, of course, Bitcoin is the hottest thing right now, but a lot of people don't know that Bitcoin is just built on a blockchain. Like there's thousands and thousands of different coins that are using the technology to try and get out there in the market.
Yeah.
What's your take on ICOs? Like when I first got started into investing in cryptocurrency, I had one idea, but after doing a lot of studying and the more I've delved into it, I have a different take on it. But I want to get your initial reaction to ICOs.
So the first and the basic response that I had is, wow, what a powerful tool. Mm-hmm. So I'm very excited about it with just the first blush. But then as you start to look more deeply, yes, it's a powerful tool. And I have some serious doubts maybe about as many as half of the ICOs that are currently being run. And I don't want to single anyone out, but it's not merely that they're violating the spirit of the law of securities. Mm-hmm. Many of them don't necessarily have a good business model behind them.
Yes.
So you'd have to remember there's no such thing as get rich quick. If you're doing an initial coin offering, it behooves you to make sure that you have experts so that you can be totally compliant, even if the law changes in the future and they try to retroactively prosecute. You want to make sure that you're agile, you're strong, and you're very clear that the legal landscape can change on a dime. And you also want to make sure that you have a very sound team. So if you're investing in an ICO, just make sure it's a project you believe in. Make sure that it's something that excites you. Make sure that it's something that you want to see in the world. About half of the ICOs that are being done right now actually relate to building of infrastructure, something that would have been normally done by, if not by the government, then by some sort of public-private trust. So that's a huge social function that I'm pretty sure over the next kind of couple of years are going to be instrumental in rebuilding many, many countries.
Yeah. And that's the same advice that I give to people that ask me. I had this one guy on Facebook, for some reason, he keeps messaging me, say, "Hey, Chuck, any good ICOs lately?" I'm like, that's not me personally. Like I'm not in it for, because usually when I hear ICOs, and you can tell me if you agree or disagree, but usually when I hear ICOs, I think of more so people comparing it to, or it being similar to options trading, like day trading, right? People get in ICOs high, get in at like 25 cents or 50 cents, whatever, goes up to 2,000 or 3,000 and they sell it, right? So for me personally, I see ICOs comparable to options trading. But I do agree with you, like where people need to start researching, who's behind that coin. Like go research the ICOs, follow them on Twitter, what's being talked about in the news. Telegram, I know Telegram is a big thing right now for cryptocurrency investors. Do the research as opposed to just following what's being talked about, I guess you can say, on Twitter feed or whatnot.
Absolutely. No, I mean, really, I don't think it's ever been more important to do your research. So it's Chuck, it's an excellent point. And also, you're looking at a buyer be warned. And we're talking about, all right, so there are normal challenges to business. Let's say a business does everything right. They could still go under, and they can go under at any time. So it's very high risk. But on top of that, you're looking at massive uncertainty globally. And you're looking at what I interpret as emotional responses. I think people either get excited or they get panicked and they make poor decisions. Yeah. So you do your research and just be smart, just be lucid and clear about why you're getting into something. If you're trying to do it as day trading, hey, that's perfectly fine if that's what you want to do. I just see the actual usage of ICO for most people, for regular people, will be things that are actually local, are things that may start a small local business that will help a town, or a modest infrastructure project that will have social value. But I really do think that that's the trajectory that we'll see emerging over the next few years as more and more people get into the cryptographic space.
Yeah. So, Kiril, so tell us a little bit about the Billionaire Hero campaign.
Yeah.
I was
please go ahead.
Yeah, so I was going to say, so before before we got on, I was doing a little bit of research, and I was really fascinated. Like I've heard of BitShares before, I just never really delved into it. And I started doing a little bit more research going on Cointelegraph, looking at some articles on there, and I was really shocked of what BitShares is doing and how they're tying in. So what's the Billionaire Hero campaign?
So I mean, this is. For me, it was a real answer, because once I recognized that I wanted to get into cryptocurrencies, I was looking for some sort of group or some sort of, team that was doing something with the currency that inspired me. Because I'm not really in it to get rich quick. It's not compelling to me. I want to be able to see projects that I believe in get financed.
Yeah.
So I was actually brought in to assist with the first rounds of the Billion Hero Challenge. And I got to tell you, the thing that inspired me most was the team. These are extremely bright, devoted people, and they are looking to harness the BitShares platform, which is it's an exchange ultimately, among other things. Mm-hmm. And they're looking to harness this instrument in order to rebuild cities and even nations that have been damaged by hurricanes. They're looking to finance projects sponsored by really great people whose names you will recognize, in order to really give back, rebuild, and it's just truly it just makes me excited for what's possible. And I have not been excited in a long time, man. I got to say, it's not like I'm jaded, disillusioned really, but it's just you see so many things that start out right and they get hijacked or co-opted. The dedication that the BitShares community itself has and the expression of their values, it's really reanimated me and made me renew my faith in humanity.
Yeah. So, I guess to learn how to, okay. So tell us a little bit about the BitShares ecosystem. Like I'm on the website right now, billionherocampaign.com. And I watched a couple of videos and it says, why BitShares ecosystem? Shall we play a game? The Billionaire Heroes Challenge. What is the game designed to do?
Well, the game is really designed to kind of step by step, we're just gamifying the lessons you need to learn in order to be competent in simply using your wallet, in understanding how it works. It's a bit of an experiment. We'll probably see a few different permutations of it emerge, but it's just making fun the learning process. The main element that we're looking at here is that it is actually a knowledge gap that keeps regular people from taking advantage of very powerful tools. So we're attempting in every possible way to make the learning process fun. And also, you may notice there's some financial rewards for playing that game. You can be earning some currency. So that marks the spirit that the real founder, Dan Larimer, we really credit him with the creation of BitShares and all of these different platforms. And his philosophy is that it needs to be free to enter, so free to use, and yet opportunities to earn the currency, because once you've earned currency, you have a completely different experience in the kind of community relationship that we're looking to foster.
Yeah. Yeah. And one of the other fascinating things about the BitShares platform was that it looks like the transaction speeds are a lot quicker than Bitcoin and Ethereum. When I saw that, I'm like, wow. But the thing is, people don't talk about that, right? Because Bitcoin is the hottest thing right now. But it looks like the BitShares transactions are much more quicker than Bitcoin and Ethereum.
Correct. You're looking at graphene blockchain technology. So I'll tell you, what you get on the news floor is very different than what you get in the executive meetings of high-level corporations. Yeah. So just to give a little bit of insight without kind of, revealing our strategy, I will say that every single major company that we're looking at, that we're onboarding into the system, the processing speed is the first thing they're looking for. It's why they've actually turned away from the current cryptocurrencies. It's because they're not able to process anywhere nearly the speed. You're looking at Bitcoin processing at maybe like 3 to 7 transactions per second worldwide. No, that's not going to work. You have to compare it to, say, Visa and MasterCard. Visa, I think, does about 4,000 transactions per second worldwide. Mm-hmm. And potentially, not even before optimization, the BitShares platform, we're talking about maybe 10,000, 100,000 transactions per second. It's at a completely different level.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, and I'm not sure if you're able to share this, but are you guys like business to business, consumer to consumer, or business to, or is it all inclusive?
Well, I would say, we're right now, BitShares itself is going through a very needed evolution. In other words, I would say that what BitShares got right first was the most important thing, that you need a community. If it is not community-based, I really don't know what you're doing. So BitShares, I got to give it to them. They really got that right. Now, once you have that core community, now you have kind of the feedback loop you need in order to make sure that you're continuing to serve the real believers, the ones who actually invest their time and energy animating it, because that's what people experience when they first come in. But now we have to actually bring it to the marketplace. And in order to do that, we need to bring in pretty high-level businesses. So what I want to make sure that happens is, as large businesses start to come in, that we maintain that community connection. And I really also want to make sure that people get into BitShares before the price soars. That's just my belief. I'm not giving any investment advice. It's just what I'm seeing. As large businesses start to make use of this platform to facilitate global exchange, I just want to make sure that people know that that very same system is available to everyone. It's the same rules apply whether you're a big player or a little player, whether you have just 100 of them or 100,000 of them. And that's really the elegance of scale, that at the very large, the macro, and at the town and individual level, it functions the same.
Yeah. And then, so of course, so BitShares is the is an exchange similar to like Bittrex and Coinbase.
In a sense, yeah. In a sense, you can get kind of philosophical about it, because ultimately it's actually just software, right? So if you totally boil it down, it's software. Okay. It's also a company. It's an autonomous company that's basically self-regulating, right? So that's extremely intriguing. It's a marketplace, it's an exchange, it's a platform, it's a community, and it's a set of ideals. Dan Larimer speaks quite regularly about wanting to protect life, liberty, and property for all participants. And otherwise, it's a value-based delivery system. In other words, the whole focus of BitShares is to create these circumstances where people can focus on contribution, and we make sure that everyone is delivering more value than they're consuming resources.
Yeah. So when I went to you guys' website, I came across the book. I started reading it just a little bit by Max Wright, BitShares 101.
Mm,
And right in the beginning, he says, Bitcoin did for money what I believe BitShares will do for business. That's
yes.
a pretty bold statement.
Yep.
And but looking at the growth of BitShares when he made the recommendation, I think when it was trading at 0.8 of a penny, I believe is what he
Hmm.
said. And then it
Yep.
went up to, I think I can't remember exactly what it was. Uh, and you hinted at it already. So what will BitShares do for business?
All right. So the first thing that it does is it gives real-time transactions. So that's beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
The second thing that it's going to do is, because it's community oriented, okay, what you're really doing is you're harnessing the blockchain technology. Okay, so you can create holistic results. Now, it's an easy word to throw out, but I'm telling you, when you look at all of these information changes that are occurring, and I'm talking about in our current environment, you have AI being developed, you have blockchain, and you have quantum computing. Now, when you look at all three of these, they're already going to change the way we process information. But what BitShares has the capacity to do is it has the capacity to bring people into the marketplace where they can be a stakeholder in the whole marketplace. They can be a stakeholder in new businesses. It's more than just being a client or a raving fan. You can actually own a piece of the businesses that you're participating in. Now, what this does is this engenders a whole new level of participation. It carries with it a much more equitable redistribution of the profits and of the wealth that actually stabilizes the whole system. And it encourages not just holistic thinking, but group cognitive learning and network effects that genuinely benefit everyone involved, which, guess what, allows people to spend more and spend more freely and give more. This will bring business into the whole new value-based economy that I'm telling you is already happening right now.
Yeah, and that's so amazing, man. Like it. The more I study cryptocurrency and try to understand the blockchain technology, I just get more excited because it's really like we're looking at the future right now. Today, we're looking at the
That's
future
it.
of the world of business,
That's,
and just the way
yeah,
transactions are
yeah,
handled. You know, it's simply
yeah,
amazing. And
yeah.
the
That's it, man.
and the unfortunate thing is that a lot of people are still skeptical, which you know it makes sense. You know, they're like, and we said earlier that the big, you know, decentralized. Well, it's not decentralized, or it's decentralized. You know, so yeah, man, I really appreciate you explaining that, and it makes sense. It really does. It makes sense, and I really encourage people to really consider looking into and start studying the blockchain and cryptocurrency more because it's really is. It's inevitable. Eventually, it's going to be. It's inevitable.
That's correct. And ultimately, what you're looking at is it's all boils down to biomimicry. All we're doing is imitating the ecosystem. And I think just one last piece before we kind of close out, I think it's an important reminder that many of the developers of this blockchain technology themselves are involved in permaculture, are involved in gardening. So we're actually pretty low key in how we actually live our lives. All we're trying to do with this technology is just make sure that everyone in the world can participate in the market, in a free market, and derive the benefit that we all want to give.
Yeah. Yeah. And just to give people some kind of context of how serious this is, I was reading an article this morning from Cointelegraph. I kind of scanned it where Apple is looking into the blockchain technology.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I'll give you one even further.
Yeah.
The IRS and the Federal Reserve are looking at blockchain technology. They call it a slightly different name. They call it distributed ledger technology, but it's blockchain.
Blockchain. Yeah.
Blockchain is, look, you just have to look at who is investing into it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's literally all of the major financial players. Everyone is looking at it because it represents what we call one of those foundation technologies. It's just, it just functions like a nervous system. And I don't know if you guys are familiar with the Internet of Things.
Yes, definitely.
It's this, right. So that's really where you start to see the whole equation change, where now there's like this information feedback loop with almost every single physical item that creates this like virtual representation of all of the transactions. I mean, you can use blockchain, for example, to make sure that the t-shirt that you buy is totally fair trade and that every single transaction that went into the making of that t-shirt, you will be able to track out. That is an innovation we've never seen before.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that's public information, right? It's in the public ledger, and you can see it.
That's something. That's it. And so that's really what that is. It's just like reflecting the metadata. And, instead of hoarding all that metadata and hoarding all the behavior of the marketplace, hey, let's make it public so that the public can see what's going on, so they can look at the information and just make an intelligent response based on real-time fact.
Yeah. All right, 2 more questions for you, Kiril, and then we'll close out. What's your investing philosophy, particularly when it comes to cryptocurrency? Yeah.
All right. So let's say the first thing is before I spend money in anything else, I spend money, time, and energy on myself. So I focus on educating myself. I focus on learning real-world skills. Things like Tony Robbins were a serious investment I made. So that's the first thing. Invest in yourself, because that's the one thing that you'll take with you no matter what the marketplace does. The second thing is I'm kind of old school. I'm conservative. I've already lost money periodically in cryptocurrency, and it's painful. It's painful. I look at, I've lost some Bitcoin here and there.
Yeah.
And at the time, it was only a few $1,000s and it stung, but looking at it now, oh man, and I made dumb mistakes. We're talking about, wow, I was a noob, and I'm still learning. So same deal, like you want to be really, really leery about get rich quick. Yeah. You want to do your research. You want to focus on things you believe in, and you only want to put money in that you are 100% committed to losing. Okay. And you have to also take a long-term look. If you get freaked out because your token went up and then it went down, man, you're not going to have fun in this marketplace. You need to kind of step back, and you need to invest in things that you think long-term are going to have social impact and are going to survive the obvious purge of the tokens. It's obvious that there are thousands of tokens now. Yeah. Just be forewarned, I doubt maybe 40 of them will really long-term be viable. So if you take all of that in mind, protect your downside, take a slow, long look at things, and then the final piece is diversify. Make sure you have different tokens and different things. Make sure you're active. Make sure you have investments in real things. There are plenty of people who look at hard assets in land, and I do second that notion. You want to make sure you're widely diversified so that in case any one thing happens to any one industry, you're insulated from that effect.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's the one thing that I always tell people, because I have somebody who consults with me, and he said, hey, should I buy this much Bitcoin? So I say, look, at the end of the day, you need to, whatever you invest, make sure you're comfortable losing that amount, whatever it is, because it's very volatile, especially Bitcoin. Bitcoin is extremely volatile right now. So if you invest $1,000 into Bitcoin, just know you could wake up the next morning and it be at zero. Was it likely? Probably not, but just know if that's a possibility. So I always tell people, invest whatever you're willing to potentially lose.
Yeah, and if I were to give advice to investors right now, I'd also want to make sure that people realize there are other instruments that you can invest with. It's not just money. You can invest sweat. I had a particular practice of investing sometimes up to a month, cost-free. I would just volunteer my service for various projects that I believed in.
Yeah.
And, bringing my skills, resources, and network to bear. And I found that enormously fruitful. I got exposed to all sorts of things. I also find that investing in your local community, whatever that is, whether you're in an urban environment, your local block, or if you're in the countryside, your neighbors. But if you invest in your community, there are lots of things that you'll find. There are lots of treasures hidden there that you can derive enormous value and satisfaction in participating in.
Awesome. Perfect. Kiril, again, thanks so much for coming on to the Smart Crypto Investing Podcast today. We really appreciate it. I'm sure our listeners have taken away something you have said. Where can people find more information about you, and then also particularly more information about the Billionaire Hero campaign?
Yeah, so you can look each of those up. I strongly recommend that people go to bitshares.org, and that's BITSHARES.org. And from there, you can find links to the Billion Hero Challenge. You can find a way to get your wallet. There's educational elements. It's all right there, one-stop shop.
Awesome. And for our listeners, I will have links in the show notes as well. So that way you can just pull up the app on your phone and you can click on the link and it'll take you right to bitshares.org. So Kiril, again, thanks so much for coming on, and we look forward to potentially having you on in a future episode.
Chuck, it's a pleasure. I wish you guys all the best.
Thank you so much for tuning into today's episode. We really hope you enjoyed that interview with Kiril Ravenstrong from bitshares.org and also Billionaire Hero Campaign. Both the links will be posted in the show notes for this particular episode. And be sure to leave us an honest review on iTunes, and we'll certainly soon be on iHeartRadio as well. You can check us out on Facebook at Smart Crypto Investing. Also, you can head over to the website at smartcryptoinvesting.org, smartcryptoinvesting.org. And until next episode, bye for now.